All right. Well, without further ado, you all have heard from her already. We did a mini workshop with her earlier, and I think you guys found it to be of great value. I believe some of you may have even corresponded with her to give her some feedback on her presentation. But as promised, we are doing the follow-up live presentation with Miss Angela Sun from the Orange County Transit Authority. And at this time, we'll go ahead and welcome her to the front, the stage.
All right, good morning, everybody. I'm going to ask, actually, if those from this table can move to this table, and then Payal, can I have you help me pass out some handouts? So I have a sheet for you to take notes on. So if you guys will just come over to either of these tables. Yes, this table as well. Thank you.
We didn't tell you guys this was a whole day.
Yeah, we want to make sure you guys are all awake, so keep you up and moving. So thank you to those that did send me feedback, and I just appreciate everyone that was on the call as well, and just the feedback that you gave as well in participating on the webinar. As Maxine said, today I'm going to go more in depth into business communication, but before I do that, I just want to share a little bit more about my background. So, like many people, I never thought that I would be in transportation. It wasn't one of those things where I got out of high school and said, I want to work in transportation. I never really thought about it. But my career has actually gone full circle. So when I first graduated from high school, I started out as a business major, and I thought I was going to go into accounting, and I had been temping at an accounting firm. But I realized that the industry and just how cutthroat it wasn't the type of environment I wanted to be in, and one of my passions is helping people. So I switched my major, then I went into child development, and then I received my credential and became an elementary school teacher. But when I became a teacher, it was during the budget cuts, so I went through my first year, and then after my first year, I was let go. I had the pink slip, and I had a time where, as people said, you have these opportunities where a door closes, but then another one can open. And I had to decide, did I want to stay in teaching? And it was a very rough year. It's, usually with teachers within their first 3 years, about over 50% usually don't stay within teaching because it's difficult. And so I looked at it and said, okay, do I want to retire in this field, or do I want to do something similar but different? And I got this book that said 101 careers for teachers. About 80 of them were all like teaching. Teaching for preschoolers, teaching for daycare. I said, okay, that's not the field I want to get into. And then I saw corporate training, which was, and I never thought about that. It wasn't something they spoke about in high school, nothing that I heard about, but it was really training in the corporate environment. So I said, okay, that's what I want to get into. I still get to use the skills, but now working with adults. So I took a pay cut, and sometimes that's what you have to do as well as you go on your journey. It's not that you're always going to get up. Sometimes you take a step back to get a step forward. And so I took that pay cut, and I worked in the Welfare to Works program. So I was helping people to get the job skills, learning how to actually interview and then keep their jobs so they could get out of welfare. That allowed me to then work at a credit union, and I stayed there for 9 years. So where I wanted to stay in business, it's kind of how it came full circle. I was now working in the financial industry, but still in training. And then after 9 years and commuting for probably it was about hour 15, hour and a half was my commute each way. I was like, it's getting a little tiring. I want to have a little bit of time. And I saw a position at OCTA, and I know at OCTA, a lot of positions don't always come up, so I jumped on that chance and I applied, and here I am. It's been a year and a half, and what's been great about it is my manager asked me, what do you enjoy doing? And I said, I'm very passionate about working with younger people. I work with young people at my church, and so she let me be in charge of our college intern program of creating workshops. So we're in our 3rd iteration of it. And then we have high school interns that just finished, so they were with us for 6 weeks. And then I had the opportunity to work with each of you at Compto. And so I was just looking at it last year and just thinking, wow, my career has really come full circle. It's taken a bit of time, but I'm glad I am where I am. And in transit, transportation, I know some people say it's not sexy. I think it is pretty sexy because you think about all the things that are happening. How do we get here today? Moving all the people, and people don't think about what goes into it, but building the highways, having the transit system, having the people mover, all of these things to get people where they want to go, to get to their jobs, their careers, to get home to their families, we get to be a part of that. And so it's an exciting time, especially with all the new changes. So you are in a wonderful position of just being here at the conference, being able to meet new people, and as people said, use those opportunities to network. And how are you going to be able to do that? With business communication, we're going to give you just some tips and skills and things that you'll be able to use as you walk outside of these doors and you start meeting people of just, hey, how do I have that professional presence that I stand out from the crowd, okay? So our objectives today, I'll have you do an assessment and you will assess how clearly you communicate with others. And I like self-assessments because it gives you that time to reflect. And a lot of times we just go about our day to day without thinking about, well, how is it that I might be perceived? What things can I work on? And what things can I continue to do well? In terms of body language, we'll work on body language techniques. So again, having that positive communication and then spending a little bit more time thinking about what's the best method of communication, not just what am I most comfortable with. So on the webinar, I gave you that full percentage of how much of your communication comes through your nonverbals, but we're going to break it down. So in person, you have your nonverbals through your body language, your tone of voice, and your words that all come into play, and it's how you communicate. Now I want you all to, so I know some of you are turned around, but I want you to face me and imagine that you are bored, you're disengaged. Show me what your body language would look like if you were bored, disengaged, just like, oh, don't want to be here, all right? Tired, all right. Nice, I see a lot of sleepy heads. Okay. Now, what would it look like if you were engaged? You're like, I want to learn this content. I want to be able to go out there and use it. Good, I see posture, sitting up straight, looking at me. So you all know what these, right, what body language is, positive and negative. And again, what happens many times is in our communication is we are not always fully aware of what's coming across. And so what we just had with our college interns, we had a workshop and we did mock interviews and people went around to each person, so they had 8 different questions. And one thing that I heard was people were not aware of their body language because the interviewer would say, oh, did you know you're looking this way? And they're like, oh, I didn't know. You're not looking at me. And it's just because we don't always think about it until someone tells us. And so you might be thinking, oh, yes, I have positive body language, but sometimes different things will come across. So what do you think percentage-wise body language plays in our communication in person? What percentage of our communication comes through both positive and negative body language? 80? 40? All right, it's actually 55%. So 55% of your communication comes through your body language. We are in a beautiful city. Last night when I came in, I went just out to the riverfront. There were a ton of people because there was a concert. You can just go out there and people watch. You don't even have to listen to the conversations, but you can tell kind of what's going on based on the body language. How many of you have ever seen a parent with their child at the mall? Right. How do you know that the child is happy and it's a good time? What was it? Yeah, they're running, they're smiling. How do you know that kid just got in trouble?
When they got a sad face.
They have a sad face, they're looking down, just stomping, right? You don't have to hear anything, but you can watch that and you can see it and you know what's kind of going on with that conversation. Okay. Now, with the tone of voice, what can your tone of voice convey as you're communicating? Yeah, how you're feeling and explain a little bit more.
Like if I was bored, I'll just like look at you and speak monotone maybe.
Yes, so monotone, and like you said, part of it's going to be your body language, your eyes are just glazed over. What else can your tone of voice say?
You're excited.
Yep, you're excited, and how would I know you're excited?
Just like your voice is like very.
Talking fast.
Yeah. Sometimes the pace goes a little bit faster, and your pitch goes up slightly as well, because usually you're smiling too. Right? So your tone of voice is part of your communication in person, and what percentage do you think that comes in?
35.
Close. 38%. You're doing the math from our total. I see that. You're like, I know the answer from before. So tone of voice is 38%, and that means that your words account for 7% of your communication. Now, when you look at that, and someone has asked me before, they're like, oh, if my words are only 7%, then it doesn't matter what I say. No. What we're saying is, in your communication, people are going to first see how it is that you're communicating. They'll hear it, but your words also have to match your communication. So what you want to do is make sure that all of those are being conveyed positively. You can't have the negative words and then positive body language, positive tone of voice, because then you send a mixed message, and the goal is to not send mixed messages. So over the phone, can the person see your body language? No. But, so yes, we don't have it in terms of a percentage, but I will say this. Does your body language come into play when you're speaking over the phone? Yes. Because what happens if you're tired? How is it that you normally sit towards the end of the day? It's 5 o'clock. Right. You start to slouch. If you're slouching, will that change your tone of your voice? Yes. Yeah, it comes out a little tired. You know when your friends have just woken up from a nap and you called them because, hello? You're like, did you just wake up? No, I'm okay. Right, but you can hear that and they're like still lying in bed. So you want to make sure that your tone of voice comes across positively. Now on the phone, they'll hear that more. So percentage-wise, it's actually going to be 86%. So when you are tired, and I get those calls sometimes at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, I'm ready to go out, but it's yes, let me sit up straight, let me smile, I want to portray and have a positive tone of voice. And then your words are going to account for 14% of your communication. Now, nothing has been done in terms of studies for text or email. Again, they can't see body language, but I want to say this, in terms of your tone of voice, does tone come across in text and email? Yes. And how many of you have been on the receiving end where you've received an email and you interpreted tone negatively? Yeah. And then, did the person intend that? Yeah, sometimes yes. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But then you start getting these conversations and you write back, you're a little upset, they're a little upset, and this could be avoided by talking in person. So that's why we'll talk about, well, what's the best method? Because I've seen it, especially with texting, right? If you don't put that emoji, then people don't know that you were just joking and now they get upset. And that's why really texting in the business world, probably I'd shy more away from it because you just have more chances of having things go wrong than right with it. All right, so what we're going to see, this is old commercial. I don't know if any of you remember Singular Wireless. All right, so Singular Wireless was a cell phone company, but this is just an example of a mixed message coming through.
Money this is not going to cost me. I love you. I know you really mean that. You never hated me, and you never will. You are the most great little...
Singular is changing the conversation about...
All right. So what did you notice? Someone from that table. Yes. So it was complete opposites. Their tone of voice was very negative. What was their body language like? Positive or negative? Yeah, negative, but then the words were positive. Does that send a mixed message? Yeah, and you're confused thinking, and I remember the first time I saw that, I thought, what? And then I got it. But again, we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that we have the same consistent message coming across. So tone of voice accounts for how much? What's the percentage in person of our communication? Yeah, 38%. And so that comes through based on our volume. We'll talk about the pitch, our pace, and the pauses. So we'll focus on that. But before we do that, you'll see that in your participant guide, there's 6 questions, and it's a self-assessment. And with the self-assessment, questions, I believe 4 and 5 are just yes or no answers. But on it, I want you to take a few minutes and really think about, on an average day, how would you answer those questions? What is your eye contact like? How is it that people perceive you? And one of the best things I will say to know, is it correct, is ask a trusted person, ask someone in here and go, hey, at the end of the week, can you answer these questions for me? Just so you can see, because again, sometimes we think we're doing well, but we don't know until someone else says, no, your eye contact is a little bit, it's not looking at me. Sometimes it looks like you are disengaged. Okay, so take a couple minutes, fill those questions out. I'm not going to ask you to share. The only thing I'm going to ask you is, were there any insights after filling this out? So, did anyone have any insights, thoughts from filling that out? Again, you don't have to share what you put down, but any thoughts that came in from it? Did you have any thoughts that came from filling this out? I know I don't know your name. Can I get your name? Yes. Griffin. So I know I saw you going, were you contemplating on one of them?
For 4 and 5, you said yes or no, and I was like, sometimes I do, sometimes I do.
Okay. Thank you. Yes.
For number 1, I just think it's most important to be yourself. It's kind of experience and professionalism.
Yes.
I know some people here that, well, we use one of the older interns, for an example. They're from DC, so they have like an accent, but they don't try to hide it,
Yeah.
and they still are themselves at all times. And people appreciate that. And people can tell when you're being kind of fake. So I think number 1 should be yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, and with these things, we're not saying be robots. That's not it. But yes, be yourself, but also there's a way to positively project yourself too. But yes, we don't want you to hide any accents. People always say that Californians don't think we have accents, but sometimes people say we do. We're like, no. But, you know, it's one of those things where you can't stop it because it is how you speak too. Anything else? Yes.
About facial expression.
Mm-hmm.
I know I show every emotion on my face, and I try not to, but like my eyebrows just move. Everybody knows what I'm thinking, so I know it's something that I should work on, but
Yes. Well, that is something that you can work on. And it's just one of the things with it is you just have to be mindful of it. So when we get into eye contact, I'll share because I train so much on it, I'm always thinking about my eye contact, but it's unless I think about it, then I can work on it. If I don't, then it's just going to be what it is. The same thing with that. Same thing when we get to pauses, when people speak, vocalize pauses. It takes a conscious effort, but it does take time. But if it's something that you want to work on, you can definitely work on it as well. All right, thank you. All right, I'm going to need 2 volunteers to come on up. Don't be scared. 2 volunteers, it's very easy. Thank you. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to talk about in terms of the tone of voice is the volume. And so we're going to have Tiara, if you don't mind. I'm going to take this. This is what you're going to do.
Okay.
Tiara Shepherd, M. Prairie View A&M University, Civil Engineering.
Okay, so she was introducing herself. What did you think about her volume? She had a microphone, but was it loud enough? No. And so even though you have a microphone and each of you will be presenting, or I'm not sure how you've broken it up yet, one thing that you want to be cautious of when you are speaking is speak loud enough, because if you speak softly, like she did with her soft voice, what do you start thinking about the person? Again, these are first impressions that come about. Yeah, no confidence. Yeah, she was unsure. Anything else? Yeah. So one thing when you have the microphone, I'd say practice. If you don't have the microphone, then it's that you have to project yourself and know what the room is like. But there is that difference in knowing, because if you don't have a loud enough voice, there are different thoughts that people have. Is she unsure? Does she really know what she's talking about? Thank you, Tiara. So I'm going to have Diamond. And then you're going to be careful.
Okay. Hello, my name is Diamond Estep. Hello, my name is Diamond Estep. What else was I supposed to say? I'm from the DC chapter. I don't remember all that I was supposed to say, but yes.
Thank you.
I'll introduce myself.
Yes. So what do you think? And I had her be cautious because she's going to be nice and loud with the microphone. But then what happens when someone has a really loud voice and they're talking like this to you the whole time? What's the difference there? I see. Yeah, it's overwhelming. What else? What was that? Could be that they're nervous, but usually when they speak very loud, sometimes people think they're overbearing as well. And so it's finding that sweet spot of knowing what the room is like. This room, if I had to train without a microphone, is a little bit harder because it's so big and you have to project. But you have to know when you're communicating, if I'm in a one-on-one, right, I'm going to speak a little bit softer. If I'm in a meeting, I'm going to speak a little bit louder. If I'm in a training room, then I have to project even more. But you want to make sure that your volume is at the right tone or at the right level so it's loud enough for people to hear, but not where they go, oh. Because I saw Tiara just like go back. It's a little much. Right? And then your pitch. When people tend to get nervous, what happens with the pitch of their voice? Yeah, it goes a little bit higher. You get a little bit nervous and you hear it. So you just want to be mindful of that. When you are speaking and you're speaking to someone new, what's your pitch like? Is it too high or too low? So finding that balance. And then same thing with the pace. When you're speaking, what happens when people get nervous in their pace? It gets very fast. And again, when we had our mock interviews, we had some people, they answered the question this quickly and then they were done in 2 minutes and they had all this time left over because they were just like, right? And you have that, you feel it and you know that. So one thing we're gonna recommend to you as well when you're presenting, in the beginning you're going to be, you might have some of that nervous energy, shake it off, do whatever so you get it out, but then make sure you're speaking at a comfortable pace. What happens if I talk like this? And today, we're going to be learning about business communication. Do you want to sit here for a whole hour if this is my pace? No. You're like, well, I need to go get some water, use the restroom. And so it's finding that right pace as well. So it's not too fast, not too slow. So you're putting them asleep. But again, using your tone of voice, using your volume, that's going to keep people engaged. And then the last one with your tone of voice is pauses. Usually when people are trying to think, they have vocalized pauses. And what are those vocalized pauses or those filler words that you hear? What else? Like, yep. So, I have someone else who says, right. And people have different words. And again, I'm going to need 2 volunteers to read for me. And don't worry, everything is scripted here. But really what pauses do, and for whatever reason, people just think that pauses are not good. But if I pause instead of saying a filler word, you're still going to hear me better probably than if I said, So like if I don't use these filler words, like, right, because you're going to get distracted. And I'm one of those people where when I hear them, I just start counting them. And I start getting distracted and I don't listen to what they're saying because I just hear it so often. And you don't want to take away from your message. So I need 2 volunteers. Come on. This is your time to shine. And one of the things I'll say as well is, when you're in these workshops and as you're out there, take these opportunities, even if you're nervous, get out of the box because it's a time where people are like, oh, wow, I saw this person who maybe they were a little bit nervous, but they were willing just to say, what is there to lose? Everything's written for you. But you get your time to shine too. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. So you are going to read this one just as it is. Okay?
Just the first paragraph?
No, the whole thing.
The whole thing. I have a dream that one day, this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit together and at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of the skin, but, by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
Thank you. Give him a hand for helping us out. So now imagine if that's how you heard the speech. Is it as powerful as the original? No, right? There were all these filler words. Now we're going to have it, and I don't want to leave on that note. We're going to read it the way that it was written and the way that Dr. Martin Luther King actually spoke it. So we'll have it with the pauses.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
Do you notice a difference? Yes. Those pauses are powerful and they're impactful, but a lot of times we think we shouldn't pause. But it's okay to pause, to gather your thoughts. So when you are speaking and when you're practicing, tell yourself, instead of having that filler word, either have someone clap. That's what I had in a speech class, but it helps you to make sure that you're not using those because it takes away from your message versus just that simple pause. And then I had her actually in the writing that you'll see there, it just said pause. So if you need that for yourself too, just put that in there. And it's okay. Right? Questions on that? Okay. So we're going to focus on 4 areas for body language. Remember, body language accounts for 55% of your communication. So things that we're going to look at: eye contact, smiling, your handshake, and posture. In terms of eye contact, here you're going to see a little comic strip, and it says, "Tina, we've gotten some complaints about your hostile behavior. At a recent meeting, you crossed your arms. That is unacceptable body language." And she says, with the eyebrows, "Maybe I was cold," and eyebrows, eyebrows, right? And what you can have there, again, with the eye contact is, as you had said, you can't help that your eyebrows are connected to your eyes, and so people can tell and see how expressive you are with that. And with your eye contact, again, you want to have that positive eye contact. So take a look at these pictures and just immediately tell me, what are the words that come to mind when you see these eyes? Confused? Concerned? Okay. Maybe a little tired? Yeah, I heard someone say tired. Okay. How about these eyes? What did you say? A little too wide, a little too open. Didn't follow the policy. Right. Here? Yeah, confused, a little bit mad. What about these eyes? What was that? Happy. Happy eyes. This is actually Oprah. And I wanted to share how Oprah is actually connected to transit. Yesterday, I saw that she was at the Arctic. Arctic is something that OCTA was a part of. It's a transportation hub in Orange County. Oprah went there to get ice cream at this new Pinkberry. And I was like, oh, that is my city. So Oprah is tied to transportation as well. But you could see just based on the eyes, what's going to be conveyed, and people will get a different message based on your eye contact. This is called the triangle method. And with eye contact, it's like Goldilocks and the 3 Bears. If I have too much eye contact and I'm looking at you the whole time, right, how do you start feeling? Yeah, it's uncomfortable. What are you thinking? Yeah, why are you looking at me? Why don't you blink? Why don't you look away? Right. If I give you too little eye contact and I'm just looking above your heads, looking to the right, looking to the left, then what are you thinking? Yeah, I don't care, I'm unengaged, I'm probably, is there something behind me, right? Why is she focusing on that? And then just right is making enough eye contact but not staring them down. And so this is called the triangle method, where you look at their right eye, you look at their left eye, you shift your eyes down to the mouth. So it's not a full, I'm shifting all the way, but it's just a slight little turn. So it's not that I'm staring at someone the whole time, but when I shift the gaze a little bit, it doesn't make you feel uncomfortable. Okay. When you're practicing with the eye contact as well, it's be careful, just sometimes people look at the tops of people's heads, but if I look at the top of your head, again, it looks like I'm not engaged in the conversation. So when you do the triangle method, it keeps you focused on the person, but still allows some shifting. So I want you to take a look at that picture and just practice looking at her right eye, the left eye, down to the mouth and back. So I was just watching your eye contact, and again, it's easier sometimes with that than another person, but I'm going to have you practice in person as well. But it gives you that opportunity just to see what that feels like. So if you have difficulty with eye contact, one thing is maintain a balance with the triangle method. The other thing is mirror the other person. So when you're speaking to somebody, do they typically look away from time to time? Yeah. So when they look away, you look away. And then you come back to the conversation. So it gives you that opportunity to not just always be staring at them. You can shift away, and then you can shift back in the conversation. So it looks like that, yes, you're engaged in that conversation, and it gives you that good communication with it. The other part is practice. So this is where I say, again, for me, sometimes I give too much eye contact because I'm always thinking about that. Am I giving enough? And so I have to scale back just a little bit. But my thing that works for me is I mirror the other person. So when I'm in the conversation, they look away, I look away, and I come back. And so what I want you to do is find someone at your table, you're going to partner up, and just share about how your flight was, and then have the other person switch, but you want to have that eye contact. Now, what I'm going to say is in the very beginning, it's going to feel weird because you're thinking, they're looking at my eyes. So after about 45 seconds, it'll feel natural and you'll get into it, but have that conversation and just practice the eye contact doing the triangle method, okay? So find the partner and talk about how your flight was. Okay, how did that feel, and what did you notice? Okay, what made it difficult? Yeah, that's what I said. So in the beginning, it's a little awkward because you're thinking about it. Then did you get into more of a natural rhythm? Yes. Other thoughts? Okay. Yes.
Every time there's a pause, you want to look away. You don't want to just silent.
Yeah, and that's okay. You can look away, just shift slightly. And someone had asked, how long do I stay on each eye? About 5 seconds. Again, it's a slight shift. It's just so your eyes move slightly and it's not this. Okay. Anything else? Yes. Yeah, you don't have to go like right at the mouth, just like right on top or right below. Just so, again, it's just so it shifts a little bit. And you're not doing it where it's drastic. It's just a little bit of the movement of the eyes. Yeah. Any other? Yes.
Not even just because, when you look at someone's mouth, you may think there's something in their teeth, but if you're so close to someone, I feel like there shouldn't be anything else that you're supposed to be looking at, but you're basically talking.
Yeah, and what you could do if you're really close is just shift between the eyes, and that's okay. It's just so it helps you, so you're giving the eye contact, but you're not just staring straight right on, so it gives you just that little bit of movement, so that's okay too. Triangle method is just another way to shift your gaze. If you can go between the two eyes, that's fine too. Anything else? Yes.
I think since I just learned about the triangle method, she could tell that I was doing the movements with my eyes.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a little weird too.
Yeah, and one thing with that, again, I think at the beginning, sometimes people are very, let me look all the way down, and it's just a slight movement of it, so you could just go a little bit. Or again, just shifting from one eye to the other. Again, the whole point is just so you're not staring them down too much, but also giving eye contact enough of it. All right. Now, in terms of smiling, how many muscles do you think it takes to frown?
7.
Ooh, very close, 72. I will give you coffee at the end. All right. So it takes 72 muscles to frown. How many muscles does it take to smile? 150. What did you say? 30? 10? It's actually less. 14. 14 muscles to smile. So it takes less muscles to smile, more lessons to frown. So what does that tell us? What should we be doing more of? Smiling, right? Remember, 93% of our communication is nonverbal. And smiling really makes a difference in having people want to speak to you. I like going to people who are smiling. If I'm walking down in the hallway, someone's smiling, oh, I want to ask them, right? How many of you, this place is huge. I got lost. And if you're trying to find someone who's going to help you, do you sometimes look for that person who looks friendly, right? And how do they look friendly? They're smiling, they're making eye contact, they're not just looking at their phone and ignoring you, right? Some of these things. And again, as you're going around, there's going to be times where people are not dressed up in their business attire, but again, they're part of the conference and you don't know who they're, so you again want to be able to have those good first impressions all the time. And so with smiling, what do you think if this was your coworker and this is how your coworker looked every single day, does your coworker seem approachable? No. Do you want to ask them a question? No. What other thoughts do you have if this is how your coworker looks every day? Annoyed? Yeah, not a people person, but he works in customer service. I don't get that, right? Now what about this same person, but now smiling? Yeah. You can come in on the weekend, you can ask him a question, he's more open. But do you notice how it's the same person, but how a smile really invites you into the conversation? And sometimes people have a hard time with smiling, or they think, when I'm with people, yes, I'll smile, but when I'm outside of these doors, then it's just like this. And again, you want people to be able to say, yes, I want to come and talk to you, and that you want to be able to approach people too. So a few things about smiling, right? A smile can be heard. When you smile, what happens to your tone of voice? It changes and it goes up. If anyone has worked in customer service, they'll always tell you smile over the phone because your smile can be heard. Okay. The human brain prefers happy faces, and really smiling directly influences how others will respond to you. If you're smiling, most likely someone else is going to respond by smiling as well, or giving you that positive feedback within their body language too. Some of us might have felt a little awkward. This is a clip from Friends, and you might have felt like this before, and it's okay, but one of the things, just like with the eye contact, is practice. Okay.
Great. That's great, Monica. Great. Now, Chandler, you want to give us a smile? Okay. I'm sorry, does this seem uncomfortable? No, I am.
I know you can do this. You have a beautiful smile.
Very?
Yeah. Maybe you'll have to. Let's try something else. Let's try that in a second.
Okay. How many of you have ever felt like that? You just sometimes feel a little awkward about smiling, right? And I've been like that too. And one of my friends told me, he said, you need to smile more. In these situations, yes, I'm smiling. But when sometimes I'm not thinking about it, I can look like you don't want to ask her a question. So I had to be mindful of that and make sure that I was smiling. Not the crazy weird one where you're just walking like that. But again, as I'm seeing people in the hallway, even if I don't know them, just saying hi, just waving, just giving that, shining your teeth there. So I want you all just, with your partner, just give a natural smile. Say hi, how are you? Natural smile, hi, how are you? Natural. You were meeting me. Say hi. It's okay. All right. All right. So like I said, again, if it's a little awkward, practice, and these are just some tips for you to help you out. Before an event, before you have to go speak, especially if you're going to be nervous, think about a joyous event. Again, when we had our mock interviews, people, they had the right words, but they were so nervous that they forgot to smile. And that's what people picked up on. When you're going to present, make sure that you just go, oh, let me smile, let me have that tone of voice just go up a little bit. Be mindful of it. Practice with the mirror, and it just takes time. Become comfortable with it. Ask other people that you trust and say, can you tell me how I'm doing on this? And give yourself that assessment. Okay. So we've smiled, we've made the eye contact, and the next part of meeting someone is the handshake, going in for the handshake. There are the improper handshakes and the proper handshakes, and we're going to watch a clip on the top 10 worst or the top 10 bad handshakes. You might have experienced them or been the person that has given them, and then we're going to practice actually shaking hands correctly, because again, as you meet people, one of the things that everyone does is, right, they extend out their hand and they want that handshake, and your handshake is, again, one of those first impressions that people will see based on how confident are you. A lot of times that's what will come across with it. So let's take a look first at the top 10 bad handshakes.
You're in business. You shake a lot of hands. So what does your handshake say about you and the people you're doing business with? Find out as we count down the top 10 bad business handshakes. Here we go with number 10, the sweaty palm. A potential deal breaker. You can't escape this nervous, sweaty grip fast enough. Yes, like that. Number 9, the lobster claw. When this person shakes your hand, they pinch your hand between their thumb and fingers. It's as if they're picking up a canister. Definitely no good if you're allergic to shellfish. At number 8, we've got the fist bump. Nothing says I'm business savvy like a fist bump. And exploding it? Well, that's just not suitable at all, ever. Number 7, the wrestler. He flicks his hand on top of yours to assert his dominance. Rumor has it, this is the guy who put the I in T. At narcissists, it's the phantom. Well, that was it. Let's slow it down to see what happened there. Aha. Clearly, she's got more important places to be and more important people to see. The lingerer drops in at number 5. There's shaking hands and then there's holding hands. Obviously, the lingerer has no idea which. Awkward. Number 4, the decliner. Decliners are fastidious folk. They won't touch a doorknob without sanitizing it, let alone shake hands. Number 3, the tickler. Everything appears normal enough, and then something feels a bit odd. It's their middle finger stroking the palm of your hand. In second place, it's the vice. Once you escape the crushing grip of the vice, you can't help but feel sorry for him. He must feel terribly inadequate to shake hands like that. And here it is, the worst of the worst. The bottom of the barrel, the handshake only a mother could love. The dead fish. If handshakes say something about you, this one has to say you're a limp-wristed pushover who's easily battered into submission.
All right, so those are the top 10 bad handshakes, what we don't want to see happen. How many of you have experienced some of those before? All right, a lot of you. Which ones? Just give me a couple. Which one? Sweaty palms, yes. All right, and I'll give you a tip. One of the things, if you're going in for the handshake, as you're walking, because normally you're walking, you just put your hand on your leg and you just walk towards them, slide it down, and handshake. So it's a little bit, you're not doing this, but it's kind of natural if you're just getting up, and it gives you that chance to wipe them a little bit. Yes?
You go in the restroom, you see people, you see things, so you don't want to touch people's hands.
Yep, and if you aren't shaking hands, sometimes if you have a cold, let someone know that. You know, I have a cold, especially if you have a cold. I don't mind when people tell me I can't shake your hand, I have a cold. I'm like, oh, thank you. Right? I don't want to. So, yeah. Other ones? Lobster claw. All right. So the way to actually shake hands properly, I need a volunteer just to come up here, so it's a little harder with myself. I don't mind. Come up here. The way to properly shake a hand is it's going to be web to web. You're a little too tight. There you go. And so one thing, I know, one thing that'll happen is it tends to happen, sometimes guys will either shake a little too hard because you're stronger, or I've noticed when guys are shaking females' hands, they'll go a lot lighter because they're like, oh, I don't want to like hurt you, but I'm like, I'm not a little weakling, right? So you want to give it just enough pressure for it, web to web, twice, and then let go. Because what happens, sometimes people get nervous and like, hi, my name's Angela, I'm from OCTA, and then you're like, when is she going to stop? And you try to pull it away. So just twice, web to web, nice firm handshake twice, and then you release. And so what we're going to do is practice, and there's 1, 2, 3. Okay, this group over here, I just want you to form one line. So you're just going to be shoulder to shoulder. So come here. No. And what I'm going to have is the next table, if you'll come up and you will face one of these people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Make sure I have enough people everywhere. And what you are going to do is we've practiced and we've talked about the eye contact, smiling. You practice shaking the hands. I'll be part of the line too, just so I can see your handshakes. You're going to shake your hand, and you could get a little bit closer because it's really far. But you're going to introduce yourself, shake the hand, and then I want you to give feedback to the person. How did that handshake feel? Too hard? Too soft? Were they giving you like the vice? But give them feedback, and I will be part of it as well. I'll go at this end, so it might be that whoever's at the end will shake twice. And what will happen is this row, once we're done, it's going to rotate. So Khalil, you'll go all the way to that end, and everyone will shift down. So you'll get to shake hands 10 times. Does that make sense? All right, go for it. Introduce yourself, shake hands.
I think you've met before.
What? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think amongst the black community, they like to invert up here.
Okay.
Is that not in business?
I would go.
It just depends because some people
I don't want to come back and
and then I just
Yeah, and part of it's if you're meeting someone, you can follow their cue for it, but I would just go out this way for it.
Yeah.
All right. So Khalil's going to go down and then go to the end, and everyone will shift down. No, you'll stay here. Just this row's moving. So go ahead, introduce yourself. So actually, I'm going to have this row here. You guys can start off with introducing yourself first, and then you guys can, so it's easier. Go for it.
You guys first.
Yeah. So it's just to get the handshake, just to see how the eye contact and the smiling was.
Because I think I only have 2 buttons and you have 3. Really? Oh, no, I
All right, and one thing I'm noticing in the middle, you guys are really far away, so normally when you're talking to someone, step in a little bit closer, because if I'm meeting someone, I'm probably not going to extend this far, be in a little bit closer, so be natural with it. All right, so you can thank your partner. Charles, you'll go down, and everyone rotate down. And then when you're ready, begin. You can. All right. Notice that you guys kept your hand and no one released. So it was like.
Was that a good thing or a bad thing?
No, normally you want to just twice and then release.
Oh,
so
okay.
it's not because you're in this conversation, you're still holding hands. It's a little weird. Okay, go a little tighter, a little harder. There you go, that's better. So go, try again. 2 shakes and yeah. Because it's weird to, if someone was holding my hand and just had a conversation, like, why are you still holding my hand? Okay. Okay. All right. All right. Thank your partners, and we're actually going to go ahead and have a seat. Go ahead, have a seat. Nope, you guys are all done. Go ahead, have a seat. Sorry. You guys can practice that afterwards. All right, so a couple of things that I noticed, just again, make sure that you're close enough, shake twice, and release. Don't hold into the conversation, okay? And if you want to practice afterwards, you could see any one of us, and you can practice that. Just a couple other things with your posture, just like we said, make sure that it's open. So one tip I want to give to you, because you will be doing your presentations, is this is the weather person pose. When you're standing, just have your middle finger and your thumb just holding your middle finger. You can put it at your navel, so your hands aren't crossed, it's not behind you, and it allows you to still have your hands, but it's kind of like home base, and it lets you have a place to put your hands. Okay? Sometimes people feel awkward of having their hands down, so this is what you'll see weathermen do. So it's you can practice this, and it's a way to talk, and then you can present and then come back to home base.
I have a question. Is it?
Yes.
I see something about posture. Isn't it less professional to talk with your hands? Like if you're giving like a presentation, like I do that a lot. Like especially if I'm nervous, I will talk with my hands, and I just want to know is that like correct?
Yes, you can talk with your hands, but if you do it way too much, sometimes that's distracting. So you want to also have that limit with it too, because you don't want everyone just being focused on this versus what you're saying. The other thing is have open movements versus this is the dinosaur where people will keep their elbows close and then they talk like this. Okay. We've already talked a little bit about phone etiquette, just a couple tips here. Make sure that you always introduce yourself, state who you are and what department that you're working in, as well as one big thing in business is make sure you are always connecting to the right person. So if someone is calling you, transfer the call and know who the call is going to. Don't just transfer it to get the person off of your line, because people will get frustrated with that. Okay. There are some email do's and don'ts, and we went over this during the webinar. The biggest thing on the don't is please don't send spam. If you have a CC'd conversation and you are, make sure you just don't over CC and know what your organization's culture is with that. And if someone has put you on an email, and let's say there's 10 different people on the email, and you only need to reply to the one person reply to the one person, don't keep hitting reply all, because sometimes I get these emails where it should have already stopped 10 emails ago for me being in it, and they just keep hitting reply all. So reply to who is necessary for it. And I do have the PowerPoint, so you don't have to write it down. I'll give you a copy of that afterwards, because I see some of you writing. Right. And the last part of just what we were talking about in terms of our conversation, and we had this on the webinar as well, is based on what you're trying to communicate, just make sure that you use the right method. If it's going to be something that sensitive tone of voice is needed, choose the phone or choose going in person. Email if it's quick, and text for the most part, unless your work allows it, I would probably shy away from text because text can get a lot of mixed messages and the communication doesn't go in as well. But practice those skills, and again, as you go out and you meet other people and you have these opportunities for networking, smile, make the eye contact, shake the hands, but utilize this time that you have to really go out and meet new people. All right. Any questions? All right, thank you.